So we're going to start with like normal we've been doing lately, with creating a class that we could have in our software. So I'm going to do a car again, so you recognize the things. We have this car, and we have a lot of properties, as always. So you remember this short snippet here, using the prop. And I'm going to do a string here, and just like normal, a brand and the other stuff. So brand, model, and we could have the year. That was a new word. Year, and we could also have speed. Now we are having 4 different properties. Like that. So this is nothing new, actually. We could add a constructor here. Yes. Wouldn't harm. Taking all the members. So still nothing new. So now we're going to talk about Entity Framework. Or we're going to use it, actually. I'm going to check I have the chat window open so I can see your questions. So we're going to use Entity Framework inside our code. And we're going to need to add some things to we're going to add some packages. You remember the NuGet page where you had all these different packages, and Entity Framework is also one package like that. So we're going to add some packages here in the Solution Explorer. You will see it under dependencies. So we're going to install it by using the Package Manager console. Remember, you could do it also in the graphical view with the Package Manager that you have in the right click on inside the Solution Explorer. You could find that menu also. So I need to install some packages. To install a package, you write just like install package. And I'm going to use Microsoft Entity Framework. And when you start typing here, you could use the tab key. So pressing it will help you finding all the packages that start like this. I thought so. I was pressing it. I maybe need to type something more. I didn't misspell it. Microsoft was so short. I'm pressing tab key. You will get a list of things that you can install. So I'm going to use this core, Entity Framework core. I'm going to use the Entity Framework SQL Server. And I'm going to use these tools. So 3 different packages. So I will start with this one. And just press enter. So what's wrong now then? I didn't expect this. It's starting to install the newest one. Oh, stupid. That was a nice demo. I think we go for I need to write the version number now. So I don't remember how to write it. Maybe like this, version 5.0. I'm going to try this. I'm not sure this is going to work. Yeah, it was fantastic. It did work. Oh, thank you. So I did just write the version because there has been a new version of this .NET. It was released a few days ago, and it's .NET 6. So when I was trying to install the package now, it was trying to install the version number 6. And we are using version number 5 in our .NET now. So that is why. So I will require also the other packages I was talking about. This, let's see if it can help me. This SQL Server also will be the version 5 for that one also. So when you are in this mode, you could use the arrow keys up and down to repeat the latest command you were typing. So you will get all code back. So I'm gonna do this SQL Server part also. And we have one more left to go. So I press the arrow up, get the latest code. And I'm gonna do the tools also. 3 different packages are required here. And these packages are part of the entity framework that I'm gonna use. So you will see now if we go to the Solution Explorer, under dependencies, we have something called packages. So if I make this a little bit bigger, you will see that we have this. We have this entity framework core, SQL Server, and tools packages. So I'm going to need them for my project now. So I need to tell entity framework where my database is. You know, you remember with the pure ADO network, we think .NET we were working with the connection strings. We're going to use the connection string also here, but the entity framework, you will write it in a different way. So you're going to create a new class here. And I'm going to call this vehicle context. And this vehicle context will inherit DB context. DB context is part of entity framework. So this is actually our way to connect to the database. This is complaining now because I needed using in the code. So using Microsoft Entity Framework Core. Like that. So you will see that we have now the using section in the top here, telling that we are using Entity Framework Core. So this one is, there's something, I'm just going to write down the code so you will see it. So we're going to create one method inside here. This is written like this always, so it's it. And I'm overriding something that is existing inside the entity framework. And this is on configuring. And this will have an input parameter, DB text options builder. So I'm going to create an option for adding the entity framework, the connection string. So I'm going to name it options builder like that. And this one will use the connection string. I use SQL Server, and inside here I'm going to add my connection string. We don't have any database yet, so I'm gonna use like the same things we had yesterday or the day before, because I just want to know where the server is. So I could, for example, go for the Northwind and take the necessary parts from Northwind. So I could take the connection string and make some changes to it. So I'm going to add it inside here. And you will see I have the Northwind things here. So I can make my own it's just a database name, the initial catalog. So I could call it car, for example, or I could call it the vehicle. So it's the database name. And with the same thing with this backslash, you had this double backslashes or the @ before the string. So this is telling us that we have this connection string. So this is the entity framework way to write it, that you are having this. And you also need to tell the entity framework what you want to have in the database, what table, for example. You remember with the ADO things, we were creating it manually with script and so on. So we're just gonna, I see I have something missing in the end here. Like that. So we're gonna make entity framework is going to do the work for us. But we need to tell what database tables we have also. So we're gonna create this called DB set. We're gonna say that we are using the car class. And we're gonna call this cars. And just do a get set. So this information here is for entity framework to know what database server, what database name, and what table we want inside the database. So you need to have the classes made, like we have the car class here. This is a normal one, you need to recognize it. So we will use it inside here. We're going to add one more thing to this. You remember this ID that we had in the database that was created and automatically was counted up like with one step each time there was a new data. So we're going to add like an ID here. And it would be of the type int and name ID. We're not having it in the constructor because when we are creating a new car, we don't need to add the ID. It will be created in the database. But we will have it in the class, so it's part of this car class. So when you get the data from the database, you will see the ID. So this is pretty much the basic that is needed now for creating a database. So I was mentioning this code first thing. So this is actually, you write your code first and you create a database out of that. So with help of our class that we have, we could create a table in the database. So we're going to need 2 more commands in the package manager console. There's something called migration. So this will collect all this information that we have from this context and checking the class because we have mentioned that we are using the class here. So we're going to write a command that is called add migration and just add some name in it, or it could be anything, this name. So this is the command that is checking your code. And this is just a name telling him what this is. So it could be anything. So if I run this one, we'll hopefully not complain about anything. But you will see if you check on the Solution Explorer now, I'm going to minimize that. So you will see there is a folder called migrations now. And this is created with this command, add migration. So it's preparing entity framework with the necessary data to create a table inside the database and create the database also. So this is just collecting things together. And we need to run one more command, which is update database. I'm going to change a little bit in the I realized that this name, we're gonna add it like a state so we can find it easier in the database. And today is 18. So as soon as you make some changes, you could do this add migration thing again. So let's see, lost. This change that I made now, I don't think that would be necessary. This, I'm just checking now, so nothing you need to do. So I just changed the connection string now, so it creates another name of the database. So this is the second command we're going to need to run, update database. So this is taking the data from this migrations folder and creating a database with that information. So if I run this, I will hopefully get a database name vehicle EF today's date. So let's try this. And it says done. So if you get any errors or some problems, it will be red text telling you that something is wrong. So now we had nothing reported wrong. So we could go to our management studio, for example. Hopefully it works today. I had problems yesterday with it. So you remember this one, starting up with my local DB and just do connect. Some of you were trying with the different logins and so on. That's not necessary. And I'm going to try to find my database, this vehicle EF at today's date. I have a lot of databases, vehicle EF. This should be the one. So if you check the tables here, you will see now that I have two tables inside. Migration history and one that is called cars. So this migration history is part of the migration. So if you check the content inside, you will see that it's just telling an ID and what version of Entity Framework you've been using. So as soon as you start changing the classes, you will need to do an add migration each time. So you will get the latest things to the database. So this will be a list with a lot of migrations, most likely. And then we have the cars here. It's empty, but you see that we have 5 different properties inside here. So this actually created a database for us from the code, only from inside Visual Studio. So just to use it, we're gonna do a small thing more. I was just going to show you how to start up. So if you want to connect to the database, you could do it like we're going to use this vehicle context. I'm just going to call it DB because this is actually the connection to the database. And this is equals to a new vehicle context. So this means that I could use the DB here to connect to the database. So if you remember, we were doing like creating an object out of the car. I'm going to call it car1 equals to a new car. And we have the constructor telling us to do some values. And we have like 245. Oh, that was the 345. Maybe that exists also. GLT, and we want the year and the speed. Okay, 1978 and 165. So this is our car object. And how do I add this car object to the database? So you can actually just access the database with the DB, the vehicle context. And you could say cars, for example. That is our table. And you could say add. And you're going to use the object you have, car1. Prepared now for being stored in the database. That's one thing more to do. So you're going to use the DB again, the context. That is your connection to the database, actually. Just do save changes. I'm going to add this console write line here, sorry. To stop. So this is the code needed to add a new car to the database. So let's try it just so see it's working. We will not see nothing, just the hello world is the only thing we see. So we're going to check the database afterwards. So let's see what's happening. Is it done already? Maybe. So we go for our database and we're going to do a refresh here or execute. And you will see we get a Volvo 245, all the data we have with ID number 1. So this is actually how easy it is used to Entity Framework. That's a little bit puzzling with getting this, creating the context and doing the migration and update the database. But after that, it's pretty easy to start using the Entity Framework. So with the help of this context, you could easily access the database. There's a lot more things you can do, but we're going to leave it for now. And I want you to start with the links we are having for today. So there's a lot of things they're going to show you about Entity Framework. So after lunch, we're going to continue and do our own car CRUD. So we have all the CRUD functionality that we could create, read, update, and delete with help of Entity Framework. Any questions?
What's the difference between Entity Framework and the ADO?
So the ADO is in the bottom. So this is, you access ADO directly when we were using like writing SQL commands and things like that. But Entity Framework is on the top. So it's using ADO, but you don't see that. So it's still using ADO.NET in the background. So, but it's like a layer on the top, so making it more easier to you to use it.
Yeah, so it's an alternative of ADO.
You can use both, yes. So, but if you're using a Entity Framework, you will have ADO also.
Yeah. Okay, but this is a way to write.
Yes, this is to make it easier to.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, easier to use the database.
Okay, thank you.
So you don't need to write the SQL commands and things like that. And you could do, Carl is asking about relationships. Yes, you could connect like many tables together and have relations, and that is also an important part of this Entity Framework. We're going to do some examples with that later on also. So this is just to start up, so you could see how easy it is to create a database through the code and how to use it easily. So I think it's a really nice and easy way to access data. But please have a look on today's link. There are a lot of links today. So please get started with those links. And we'll see you at 1 o'clock.
Thank you.
See you. Yeah, bye.